What's going on, Washington fans? Welcome to Bleacher Report. I'm Josh Taylor. And if you missed yesterday, you got a lot of catching up to do because Washington traded a third, a fourth, and a sixth round pick to the New Orleans Saints for all pro or Pro Bowl corner Marshon Lattimore and a fifth round pick. So this is a team that is 7-2 right now. They're first in the NFC East. They have a lot of good things going. And GM Adam Peters said, look, the team is way ahead of schedule. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is leading the way and making this a team that can actually be a threat, not only in the NFC East, but also in the playoffs. So they said, what's the biggest concern with this team? And it was corner. It was having a lockdown number one corner on the outside that could just really stop these big plays that have been happening. There's a couple games where you're just like, it drives me nuts because it's not all the time. It's just, it comes in little spurts. So I want to talk about the impact that Marshon Lattimore is going to have on the field in a couple different ways. Obviously with alignment, who's going to go where and stuff like that. But then also what this means like personnel-wise, package-wise, how Washington could really operate. And it's not even just the passing game, it's also the running game as well. So I want to talk about just overall, Marshon Lattimore is only 28 years old, and he is arguably still in his prime. And there's a lot of stats that back it up. And I know you can talk about a couple of the injuries that he had. There's a few small things, obviously. But Adam Peters said it today, hey, we got all the medicals on Marshon Lattimore. We did our homework. We feel really good about this. We asked around. Obviously Terry McLaurin, Noah Brown, we're in the same recruiting class at Ohio State as Marshon Lattimore, so that's cool to see that he's back with, two wide receivers that he knows really well. And he was excited. Just seeing Marshon Lattimore talk to the media today, not too long ago, it has me excited. But this is a guy who is still thought of, and it's not even just us. It's not even just Dan Quinn in his press conference or Adam Peters and his people around the league. A lot of media sources are like, hey, guys, Marshon Lattimore is still a top corner in this league. And if you don't think so, I don't know what to tell you. And when it comes to the contract, we're only paying like 600 something thousand just this year, and then 18 mil next year. And it's not guaranteed. And then in 2026, it's 18.5 mil. So he's already under contract until 2026. Like we're paying him a little bit now, and then 18 and 25 and 18.5 and 26. So you don't even have to worry about that. I know we gave up some hefty picks, but when it comes down to it, this could be the piece that really just pushes Washington in that window of opportunity that they have. So let's take a look at a couple things. Like I said, you had a corner one to cover up a wide receiver one. You got to face A.J. Brown twice a year. We know how that usually looks against us. But then if you make it to the playoffs, you're going to face some good teams. That Baltimore game, you can't tell me that if we had Marshon Lattimore, that game probably goes a different way. I feel totally different about that game. Now, you also are allowed to move Mikey Samerstill into the slot where he hasn't really been able to play. It's been more of a liability thing. Like, we just don't have anyone on the outside we can fully trust. Now, Noah Igbenogany has actually been a lot better than I expected. Obviously, Forbes is barely even playing. If he's even, healthy. Like, he's a healthy scratch, and he had his thumb. It's been a mess. I'm surprised we didn't trade him, honestly. And then you have St-Juste, who's just is a roller coaster. You don't know what to expect. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's getting penalties. He's inconsistent. But when it comes down to it, you can be more flexible. And Dan Quinn said in his press conference, I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to talk about, what this means for us personnel-wise. But don't worry, guys. I have some answers. He said, I don't want to talk about that too much. But it does allow us to maybe, if you want to leave Mikey on the outside in certain packages, maybe they go big and go three safeties instead of, three corners. It allows you to do that depending on what matchups you have. Like the Eagles, I would love Mikey on Smitty, Devontae Smith, the Slim Reaper, my guy from Alabama, and A.J. Brown on Marshon Lattimore. That'd be perfect. And then, maybe you could put St-Juste the slot. He's played there a little bit over the last few years, but still, there's a couple things you can wrinkle out. But when it comes down to just long-term plans, it's been known. And they've said it, Witt said it, Keim said it. They want Mikey to be back in the nickel where he was drafted to play, where he's comfortable, where they can man up stuff. And I'll talk about man and zone and what it's looked like and how that's going to change as well. But they're both DQ and Adam Peters, man. They were glowing just talking about this. They were both stoked about this. Everyone said he's good. This is the best corner we've had in Washington since D Hall. And he's got the 23. I mean, D Hall and Champ Bailey, that's the last two like corners of this caliber that we've had here. I wouldn't even put Josh Norman on this tier. I think Josh Norman was a tier below. Like Marshon Lattimore, D Hall, and Champ Bailey. This is the best corner we've had on this team in a long time. A long time. And I'm glad he got that 23 jersey. I'm glad Chris Rodriguez gave that up. Very nice of him to do because it looks fitting. The aura is there. We needed that for the culture. Now, stats, let's talk about Marshon Lattimore. Not even just, this season, but how consistent he's been for such a long time now. Since 2021, Marshon Lattimore has a 35.1% open target rate allowed, which is 5th among all corners. 35.1% open target against who he is guarding. That's whether he's the primary or secondary defender on a play. 35.1% open target rate. That's crazy. And like I said, since 2021, 5th among corners. So it's not even just this year. It's been a while. He's been consistent. Marshon has allowed get this, negative 12.3% completion percentage over expected when targeted as the closest defender in 2024. That is 3rd best among all outside corners. You're like, Josh, what the heck does that mean? First off, like in my, scouting that I've done, the primary defender is the closest defender, whether it's zone or man. Whoever's that closest defender, that is who's labeled as the primary defender on a play. So they're saying he was expected to allow a completion percentage of this. And that number comes from a couple different things. The biggest, obviously, is who he's playing up against, who he's facing in that matchup. Who he is guarding, whether it's man or zone, especially in man. Who is he face-to-face with at the line, running hip-to-hip with in their route? That's exactly what they're saying. And it goes into a bunch of different factors: quarterback, the offense efficiency, the quarterback's completion percentage, what they are expected to get. Kind of like how Vegas says, okay, we are expected to, so-and-so, Jalen Hurts to have 250 passing yards, over under. They're saying this is what this quarterback is expected to get completion percentage-wise with this target based off of a lot of different things. And Marshon said, no. Negative 12.3%. That's crazy. That is insane. So you have a guy who can play outside. He can run with the best of them. And this just opens up so many different things, y'all. I mean, just seeing how excited he is too. He's like, they thought highly of me because of what they gave up. When he was asked today, like, do you think you could be what this team needs to really push for like a playoff run? And he was like, I like what we got. He's like, I like what we have. So he's already feeling it. I like it, man. Lattimore has been targeted on just 9.7% of coverage snaps in 2024. That's the 2nd lowest among outside corners. So that is this year. So people have said, Josh, Marshon Lattimore is a name that I know, I remember. It's a big name. But I really haven't kept up with him this year, or maybe even like last year, because he had some injuries. He missed some games over the last 3 years. So, Josh, I'm not really familiar with what does he look like now? Like, is he out of his prime? I don't think so. I think he's still in it. As I mentioned when I opened up, 28 years old, that's not bad. Like, people think for some reason 30 is old in the league. It depends, like injuries and if you're a running back or something like that. But it's not. Like, it's really not. So that's what excites me about having him until he is right at 30, almost 31 years old in his contract. Then you can also like rework some stuff. But looking at right now, this season, he's only been targeted on 9.7% of coverage snaps in 2024. And when he is targeted, it doesn't go well for the quarterbacks or wide receivers. And I'll talk about that. Like I said, 2nd among all outside corners in the league this year. On cover snaps. Just people don't want to throw to him. So if you ask me, that means St. Juice, you're going to have to strap up. Samerstill, you've been great. Keep at it, man. But if they're not throwing to Marshon, they're going to be looking at the other side. they're going to be looking towards St. Juice. They're going to be looking at the rookie Samerstill and saying, we got to test these guys because I don't want to throw it to Marshon Lattimore. I guarantee you, he's probably targeted twice a game. Like 2-3 times a game. First off, like if you want to talk about interceptions and stuff like that and stats and blah, 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 there's not much to work with. So quarterbacks don't want to throw to his way. They don't want to even try it, honestly, unless you have like Justin Jefferson or someone. I mean, we saw him and Mike Evans go at it for years, and he was locking down Mike Evans. Like, this guy can run with the best of them. Same with A.J. Brown. There's a lot of highlights with him and A.J. Brown. I cannot wait to see him and A.J. Brown 1v1, man-to-man, at the line two more times. We're going to see it twice this year. That's what excites me, because before I'm like, holy smokes, I'm nervous, but now he gives us something to look forward to. Those are the matchups I love. Like, talk about Josh Norman, and when him and Odell would go at it and they're feisty and stuff like that. That's what A.J. Brown and Marshon Lattimore can be for the next 2, 3, however long, 4 or 5 years we decide to have him here. So that excites me, man. Quarterbacks have a 70 passer rating when targeting Lattimore over the last 3 seasons. So a very average to below average passer rating over the last 3 seasons. And like I said, he missed some games, obviously. I want to say 2 years ago, especially, he missed a handful. I think last year he missed a couple, if I'm not mistaken. But 70 passer rating when targeting Marshon Lattimore over the last 3 seasons. So, yeah, I would say it's very safe to say that he is still in his prime, because he's still doing it this season. And he has been for the last few years. The one stat that really blew my mind, and like I said, he's been facing Mike Evans twice a year. Like he's seen some good wide receivers. The league is wide receiver heavy right now. Did you know he has not allowed a single touchdown and single coverage since the 2021 season? That is crazy. Single coverage. And I'm telling y'all all these stats because I want y'all to really remember this when I start talking about packages and what this could mean for, what Dan Quinn and Witt really are going to want to do for the defense. That's why I'm telling you all these stats, because I'm reassuring the next part, the part 1 to the part 2. He has not allowed a single touchdown and single coverage since the 2021 season. And in 2024, he has had 257 coverage snaps. So 257 times. This isn't like run. This is strictly coverage snaps. He's only been targeted 14 times. So that really goes back to what I was saying, 2-3 times a game he's been targeted this season. That's not much. They don't want to throw to him. In the 14 targets, he's only allowed 8 catches for 83 yards and no touchdowns. So, yeah, I would say, and he's honestly had this little hamstring injury. I want to say like beginning of the season he had it. So he's been like fighting it all season, and he's still balling out. Like I said, I think he'll be fine. Do I think he will play this Sunday versus the Steelers? That's a tough one. If I had to say, right now I'm leaning no. He didn't practice today, but he was out on the field doing a couple of moves with Ben St. Juice, like technique-wise and like stuff like that. But the way I look at it is him just getting here. I mean, he arrived, this morning, Wednesday. He still has to learn everything. I think he'll fit right in on the defense. Like, I don't think it would take that long. But then you also have the Eagles next right after that on a short week. You got to travel to Philly on a Thursday night. That's the game I want him to be healthy for. If you lose to the Steelers, you lose to the Steelers. Oh, well. Obviously, a loss sucks. Would you rather lose to the Steelers or would you rather lose to the Eagles? Obviously, the Eagles. That's a no-brainer. But the Steelers game for me, I'm not too pressed on him playing. I want him at 100% when he has to go up against A.J. Brown. Because you want to talk about the NFC East, those 2 games versus the Eagles are what are going to decide it. That's what's going to decide who wins the NFC East. I'm not worried about the Cowboys. We already swept the Giants. Can we sweep the Eagles? We have to at least split. If we lose both to the Eagles, that's not good. That is not good. We have to at least split it. Sweeping them, we're winning the NFC East. If you sweep the Eagles, it's over. There's no way the Cowboys would beat us twice, to be honest with you. There's no way. So that Thursday game is where I want him to be ready. And if that means him not pushing it, we talked about B-Rob and how we didn't want him to push his injury last, Sunday against the Giants, and he tried to give it a go, and he didn't look good. So they said, we're not going to do it. It's not worth it. That's obviously I want to see Marshon out there. I'm so excited. Guys, I want him to lock down George Pickens. Are you kidding me? I would love to see that. But is it worth it? From a long-term standpoint, for what we just gave up for him, we want him to be good here for a while. We need him for the rest of the season. I don't see him playing. I don't see him playing. Like he said today, he's working with the trainers. He's trying to get ready for Sunday. He said he doesn't know. Adam Peters said he doesn't know. Quinn said he doesn't know. It's going to be one of those Jaden Daniels rib things. We have no idea what to expect until maybe Sunday. But to be honest with you, I don't see a way that he plays. It's not worth pushing it. Get him 100% ready for that Thursday night game in Philly. That's his debut game, prime time against A.J. Brown. It doesn't get better than that. Maybe they put him on a limited snap count, just get him some, reps out there because he's missed the last few games for the Saints. I know he at least missed this past Sunday. I don't know how many games he's missed this season, to be honest with you. But get him ready for that Eagles game. So, what does this do for Washington's defense moving forward? Let's look at a couple statistics because you have to give it up to Witt. And I say we because it was me, it was a lot of people super critical in this defense. We're like, guys, everything's been great, but the defense at times has looked really bad. Really bad. If only the defense can get better, middle of the pack, we're better than middle of the pack now, which is surprising. Then this team can do a lot of good things. And seeing from how they've gone week after week after week, obviously that Ravens game, it had some bad moments. It had some big plays, and that's what really bothered the heck out of me the most. But then also recently we've seen the run defense get worse. So you're like, Josh, what does this mean? How is he going to help the run? What is he just going to, be in the corner and, if something comes his way? No, this changes a lot of different things. So listen to this. Talking about man and zone, and then talk about one high safety and two high, safeties. Washington so far throughout the season, as of today, has played 36% man coverage. 36% man coverage. And I got all these numbers from Football Insights. Great source to have. Follow them on Twitter or X or whatever you call it. But highly recommend Football Insights. They break everything down. They said the Washington Commanders have played 36% man coverage so far. And a lot of that came from the Ravens game. And it's all going to make sense when I wrap it up. They're like, okay, why the Ravens were we playing so much man, Josh? We played 59% zone so far this season, and we are dead split 50-50 with one high safety and two high safeties. Now, what does that mean? It means a lot of things when you add a number one corner. Because talk about man coverage. Marshon Lattimore can play man coverage. Dan Quinn wants to play more man coverage. I'm going to tell you why. Because obviously when you have a lockdown quarter, it makes it a little easier. You see what the run defense is doing right now. We've allowed the third most rushing yards in the league right now with 1,287 yards. That's not good. Especially, you got Saquon twice. The Steelers have been running the ball really well. We got them Sunday. Like I said, I don't know if Marshon's going to play Sunday. But if you want to win these games, we cannot let them run the ball. You see what happened when the Giants were running the ball on us. It was a tale of two halves. First half, they were running the ball. Second half, they were throwing the ball. It's like we can only stop one at a time. And you're like, why is that, Josh? To stop the run more, we have to load up the box more. You lost John Allen, who's a good run stop and D tackle. You're relying on some interior D tackle guys. You got to get some help in the box. And for those that don't know, the box is from the end of the line to the end of the line and 8 yards back. That is technically the box. And it's usually where your linebackers are. They can be online, they can be offline, they can just be floating around in the box, but then also your safeties. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to allow Dan Quinn and Joe Witt, we'll just say Witt, Coach Witt, to play more cover one, to play more man coverage, even cover two man. But in cover one, especially like cover one robber, that's going to be our bread and butter. Cover one robber is going to be our bread and butter the rest of the season. This is what cover one robber is. So you have your two corners on the outside. Let's just say, I don't know, whoever. Marshon and St. Juice. They're playing man coverage. You can have Samer still in the slot. What is happening is we are playing too far back because we're giving up too many big passing plays. We're having to play two high safeties way too much. We're having to play conservative because the corners need as much help as possible. You are missing tackles. Absolutely. But if you're missing tackles and you have someone there to help clean it up, it makes it so much easier. You go back and just watch all the big run plays. You don't have Jeremy Chin, who's been playing really well this season, by the way. He's been tackling really well. He's not up in the box. He's having to float back. He's having to stay back to help out these corners and stop these big plays. The Jamar Chase touchdown. All these big plays against the Ravens. Just guys like wide open. We're playing so far back, and it's just the corners. At some point, you start to see the lack of skill, and I hate to say it, or just the mismatches between these guys. Zay Flowers, or some of these other top, like I said, Jamar Chase and St. Juice, or Mikey having to play outside when he's not supposed to. You're having to play too far back. You're having to play conservative. You're like safeties. If something happens, if the corners get beat, you have to be there to clean it up. And that's what they've been having to do. And teams are running the ball at us like it's nothing. Third most rushing yards in the league. Averaging the fourth most per game allowed is 143 flat. So we are allowing an average of 143 rushing yards a game. Not ideal. Not ideal. And we've known all along, Dan Quinn wants to play man, but he can't with what he had. But now he has a true lockdown corner that can play man. You can probably see Quan Martin up top, single high safety. And like I said, you're gonna have a lot of looks. Speaking of cover one robber, you can even show two safeties, and Jeremy Chin is the robber, and he drops down, and he's covering like a zone in the middle of the field to stop some of these plays. And then you have Quan being that single high guy, and I think he can cover. He has the range. We've seen it. Or even vice versa. You're dropping Chin, and we've seen that too. And then Quan's the guy that's up front. But it just allows you to solidify, hey, we're not going to let you run the ball up the middle. But then also we're confident in our corners to lock you down in man, and we have safety help up top if needed. But even just bringing that one body, if it's Quan or Chin, into the box in a cover one robber, or even if it's like cover three, you're dropping stuff, it helps the run game so much. Now, and like I said, in the passing game, same thing. You don't have to say, okay, like who are we going to put on A.J. Brown? You answered that question yourself. Now you can just be a little bit, more free. And Dan Quinn kind of alluded to that today. They're like, hey, Dan, getting Marshon really just opens up the defense and allows you to be a little bit more free. Like, what do you think? And he's like, you're barking up the right tree. That's what he said. Pretty much hitting at like, this is big because now we can really do what we've wanted to do all season. We've kind of been forced to do this, play a little too conservative, play a little too far back, leave that box open because of who we have at safety and who we have at corner, mostly corner. It allows us to play a little bit more aggressive. It allows us to blitz more. And early in the season, people are like, Josh, why aren't we blitzing? Like, who do you want to blitz? We're giving up big passing plays. You want to take one more person out of the secondary that might not even get home? Now you have Marshon Lattimore locking someone down to where they have to go look at the other side of the field. Now, like, okay, my options are limited. And if those are covered up, the quarterback's holding on to the ball, you send a blitz, what's going to happen? You're going to get more sacks. It all is just linked together. It allows you to really just focus on what you want to do. You can be aggressive. Like, go back to what he did in Dallas. When Deron Bland was balling out and Trayvon Diggs wasn't hurt, the things he was able to do with DeMarcus Lawrence, with Micah Parsons, you're going to see more of that. And if we're honest, I'm not saying we have a Micah Parsons, but overall talent, looking at like linebacker especially, I like what we have here right now. And Dante Fowler's balling. Don't discredit Dante Fowler. He's been getting to the quarterback. He's been causing big plays. Dorrance Armstrong's played well. Clelin Ferrell's played well. And then, of course, Newton and Mathis, those younger guys, are still settling in, but they've shown some flashes as well. This allows you to just be so much more aggressive. It's not going to be that drop into zone that many times, guys. I would have never guessed we played almost 60% of zone. But when you have all of these flaws and you don't have the best corners, you have to play zone. Because you at least have a body in the area. Like, okay, if someone comes here, I can pick them up. I'm not just running man-to-man with somebody. It's not Forbes on A.J. Brown, and he's getting, mossed in the end zone every time. Zone pretty much says we're just going to be conservative and try to stop whatever you're trying to do. It's not the cutest. It's not the sexiest. Sometimes it gets the job done. And to be honest with you, we've actually been pretty successful in it. Shout out to Mina Khan. She said our QBR that we've allowed in man has been 68, which is not – once again, you're like, why are we going to go to man? Now you have Marshon Lattimore. That number is going to be so much better. 68 quarterback rating in man, it can be better. Zone, we're only allowing a quarterback rating of 51. It comes in these waves, and it makes no sense. The defense will look really good. They'll be balling out, and then a big play happens. Then a big play. Nothing, big play happens. It just comes in these spurts, and it makes no sense. That Ravens game, we could have won that game. And then if you look at Washington's defense up to this point, we are 21st in yards per pass attempt, which not good, but only 5th in passing yards per game. So it's not like we're giving up a ton of passing yards per game. It's just we're giving up big plays. And big plays are 20-plus yards in passing and 10-plus yards in rushing. We're giving up way too many of those. If you can limit that, the defense is not playing bad at all. It's just they're letting too many of these little spurts of a big play happen. Like the Theo Johnson touchdown. Like, how does that even happen? All of like the Mark Andrews, the Zay Flowers, like wide open catches. How does all of that happen? I think a lot of that, more than a lot, well above a lot, gets really trimmed down when you have Marshon Lattimore out there and you're playing man coverage. And we're 18th in opposing pass rating. So we're like right in the middle of the pack. So that is like the most confusing thing. We're not allowing a lot of yards, passing yards per game. Quarterbacks aren't playing that well against us, but we're still giving up big passes every now and then for no reason. So you're going to see a big time change. I'm going to keep an eye on that number until the end of the season. Like from the first game Marshon Lattimore starts, 36% man and 59% zone. And there's a couple of different things. Obviously, you'd have, cover two man, Tampa 2. Like there's a couple different things there. But primarily, man, you're like one high safety or somebody's dropping. Like we played a lot of cover 1 against the Ravens. If we would have played like how we have all season, that number is even lower. But that man coverage, we had to load up the box against the Ravens. And because we did that, because they have, Derrick Henry and they had Lamar Jackson, we had to load up the box. We can't let those guys run on us all day. And they still did to a certain extent. But it just allowed all these big passing plays behind us because we just didn't have bodies. We were forced to play man. The mismatches were there, and they took advantage of it. So moving forward, like I said, guys, the schedule is very favorable. Out of all the teams in the league, like top teams in the league right now, I like our schedule the most. You got the Steelers on Sunday. Like I said, then you go to Philly on Thursday. You play the Cowboys. Dak's on IR. He's out. You got the Titans, should win that one. Marshon's got to go back to New Orleans, and we got to play the Saints on December 15th. Then the Eagles come to our house on December 22nd. We have the Falcons come to Dallas on 1-5 to end the season before the playoffs. So that's a very favorable schedule the rest of the way. If Marshon, like I said, I don't think he'll play Sunday. If he does, great. But just get him ready for Thursday in that Eagles game because that is massive. But you're going to see such a change of personnel and schemes and coverages. You're gonna see a change. It might not be like a black and white, like just instant change. But I'm telling you, I'm gonna watch that number from the first game he starts to the end of the season. That man, it's gonna be closer to 50 than 36. It's gonna jump up because they want Marshon out there with the number one guy. They want him out there with CeeDee Lamb twice. They want him out there, and then they're gonna try to move CD to the slot to get away from him, and that's fine. Like hopefully they let him follow him around. But AJ Brown twice, Drake London, Chris Olave, you might have to face his teammate. Titans, Calvin Ridley. Steelers, Pickens if he plays. That's good matchups. Dan Quinn wants those one-on-one man coverage matchups, and he's going to blitz more. You're going to stop the run a lot more. You're not going to give up as many big-time passing plays, and turnovers are going to go up, believe it or not, because you're getting to the quarterback, you're getting more pressure. So just adding this, it's crazy how much adding this one piece, especially as a top corner, if you add like a Jonathan Jones or something like that, it's not going to change as much. But you add a top corner in the league in Marshon Lattimore, and it just drastically impacts everything on the field. The D-line is going to be able to have more time to get to the quarterback. The linebackers are going to have more time on blitzes. They're going to be able to, find their guys more in the middle of the field or stop the run. Like they just feel more confident about what's behind them. The safeties don't have to worry about safety help as much with Marshon Lattimore. First off, because he's getting targeted twice a game. And if he is getting targeted, they feel pretty confident that he's going to lock it down. So now the safety is like, my primary focus is over here and in the middle of the field. I know Marshon's going to do his thing. Obviously, I'm not going to, just completely abandon it, but I can focus on helping where I need to. So you're going to see a big-time change, y'all. I'm excited. I am ready for this. If he plays Sunday, I'll be hype. I hope he's healthy. I hope he's ready. But just on a short week, having to go to Philly right after that, I don't know if I want that. So appreciate y'all stopping on the stream. Got some more things cooking up. Every Wednesday, I'll be hopping on here talking about the biggest topics of the week or whatever's going on in the season. So make sure y'all tune into that. I will be here, and we always have some good content, guys, going live after the games and stuff. So don't miss out. Follow along the team. This is a special season, and adding Marshon Lattimore just made it even better because, guys, believe it or not, we're going to make a run at the playoffs, and Jane Daniels might just win MVP. So appreciate it, and I'll catch y'all next time.